All right, so I'm gonna start this video out by saying yes, in the last video that I uploaded like 3 days ago or whatever it's gonna be, I did say that you guys were gonna see a little less of me. And you are in fact gonna see a little less of me. Like I said, I am working more hours. That's gonna continue at least for a while. So definitely gonna be seeing a little bit less of me. And it's warm in here. I just realized it's kind of warm in here, but oh well. But I had to make this video. I honestly had to make this video. The last video that I uploaded and just the comments and the support from you guys was just amazing. I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart. All of your comments, all of your support, you know, saying you guys are going to still be there and you just wait for the next upload and things like that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Even the video actually for me and for the amount of views I get did pretty well. It did pretty well as far as the views and everything like that. So thank you guys. A heartfelt thank you from the bottom of my heart. Truthfully, I just can't say enough good things about you guys, and you don't know how much it means to me and how much I really appreciate it. So that being said, I did have a few people who said, hey, you know, kind of like to see more about the vehicles. And I know sometimes I get a vehicle and then I may say I'm going to do something to it or talk about it or whatever, and then that kind of trails off and I go on to something else. That's my short attention span. But I had a few people that said, hey, we'd like to see more about the vehicles and more about the builds and stuff that you do to them. So you know what? Today's going to be a shop update. There's some vehicles that I've had some stuff done and haven't shared with you guys, and some plans that I have for some vehicles. So let's get started. Okay, you may remember a few videos back I talked about the Pantera. This is my 72 Pantera for people who don't know or are new to the channel. And I talked about taking it over to my buddy Art's shop and him doing some tweaking on it. Well, I'm happy to say it is back and it is running better than ever. He got it dialed in very, very nicely. It had a little bit of a stumble to it before, just at lower RPMs and the shifts and stuff like that. That is pretty much gone, and this car runs, I mean, like never before, and it sounds so good. It's running amazing. You guys will see when I do the POV video on this thing. The only problem with it right now is that the passenger side window, you can see we're going through without hitting glass, is down and will not go back up. So yeah, Eddie's gonna have to tackle that among his other list of things that needs to be taken care of. Going down the line here, the Cobra. The Cobra is doing good, running good, everything is good on it, but it's gonna need a new clutch. It's been needing a new clutch for a while, and the clutch really catches right off the floor basically, not a lot of play in it. Eddie's adjusted it several times and you know, got as much as we could get as far as life out of it. I mean, the car is built in the 90s, so it's due. Luckily, I already bought a new clutch for it, so we have all the parts over at the workshop, just needs to be done. Again, not real high on the list of priorities, but I got a couple other things going on right now. As soon as those get done, put this in line and get it over there. DeLorean is doing good. Drove it the other day, took it to a Cars and Coffee. It was a big hit, and no problems with this car whatsoever. It cruises right down the freeway very nicely. The air conditioning is working great, so no plans to do anything to that. That car is more of a when things break or something happens, then I'll update it. My 65 C10, it is in need of a little bit of love right now. It's got a noise that I hear when I go over like uneven terrain, bumps, things like that. It sounds like it's in the suspension. I'm not sure what it is. I've heard it before. I had Jesse check it out one time before, and he found a fender brace that was broken and fixed that, and that seemed to alleviate the problem. But it's doing it again, and I've checked the fender braces and they look good, unless I'm missing something. So I'm gonna need to take it back to him, have him check out this thing and see what's going on with that, because I want to get that fixed. The Cyclone is doing awesome. Once I figured out that it's best to keep it above a half a tank of gas for hard accelerations, for it to perform and function well. Once I figured that out, this thing is doing great. Air works great. Updated the sound system, so it's got a nice sound system in it. I absolutely love the truck, and actually had a few people try to buy it off of me. I don't want to sell it, so it's going to stick around for a while. Nothing going on the 64 Corvette. It's running great. Ever since Eddie did the tune-up on it, it runs really, really great. Very pleased with this car. Very happy with this car, so no plans for it. The Camaro's doing good. I think I talked about this last time. Turn signals still are not self-canceling, so that's still an issue that needs to be worked out. And the car needs shocks. It doesn't actually have shocks, so it's a little bouncy in the back end. I want to get that taken care of, so I'll take that to Jesse at Discount Tire. And the other thing going on with this car is it runs really great under a full load, but just driving around, it kind of feels like it loads up. I don't know what the issue is, but it's running just a little bit rich, so I want to take it over to my buddy Art, who had the Pantera, and get him to tweak on this car, and I think he can get more out of it and get it to its full potential where it's running a little bit more like it should. But I mean, don't get me wrong, you can cruise around, it doesn't stumble or anything like that. It just sounds what I like to call it kind of a muddy sound. It just doesn't sound completely right. Okay, moving down the line to my 79 Trans Am, nothing going on with it. Everything is good, it runs good, it's behaving well, no issues with it. Same thing with Kit. Kit is good. I had to have the air conditioning worked on, a couple of tweaks with it because it wasn't blowing cold, but now it's blowing cold, so this car is very nice to drive. Same situation with my 58 Plymouth. This car has always been one that's just been very consistent for me. I start it, it starts right up, it runs, it drives the way I want it to, and it's a very nice cruising car. I love it, I enjoy it, and so nothing really needs to be done to it. My General Lee, really the same as what I talked last time in the last shop update, just haven't gotten to it yet. I want to do just a little bit of interior work on it, and then as I said before, I want to get the signatures restored, find somebody to do that. I do have someone in mind, I just need to give them a call and get the car over there to have that done. The Viper is good, no issues with it. Drove it a couple weeks ago, it's running great. Same situation with the 40 Ford, it's running great, very happy with it, shifting good. I actually took it to the Cars and Coffee before, and it was great. I really enjoyed it, really enjoyed driving it. Same situation really with the Lightning. Everything is good with the Lightning. Actually drove it to work the other day, no problems at all. And then last in here, but certainly not least, is my XLR Cadillac, and it too is doing great, no plans for it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So now let's go ahead and move around into my wife's she shop. Got a little bit to talk about there, and then we'll end the video over at the workshop where there are a couple of vehicles currently being worked on. Okay, I think this is going to be the highlight of the shop update, which is going to be my wife's bus. You guys might remember me talking about this, and Eddie was going to go into it and work on it and see if he could figure out the oil leaks. Come around to the back of it and see if he could figure out the fuel gauge and why it wasn't working. Well, I'm very happy to say he was successful. Once he dove into the engine, it turned out that the motor needed a little bit of love. The crankshaft was really loose in the center of it. I believe it was the crankshaft, if I remember correctly, but it was never gonna stop leaking oil, and the time wasn't gonna be able to be set. It was noisy, it was loud, and it just was not gonna run well. So ended up having the motor rebuilt essentially. It's now a 1641, still single port, single carburetor, but definitely more power, definitely sounds much better. And Eddie also figured out the fuel gauge. He's got the fuel gauge working, so I mean, knocked out of the park on this one, very happy with it. We actually took this one too to the last Cars and Coffee, and my wife loved driving it. She loved getting back in it, said it drives better than ever. I know I drove it around the block, and just, it's like a different vehicle, really. It just is like a different vehicle, so much nicer to drive. Her 78 Gremlin, really nothing going on with it. You know, the car runs pretty consistently. It's a nice driving car. It's always been kind of hard to start, takes a little bit of effort if it's been sitting for a couple of weeks. And I suspect at some point we'll probably have to dive into the motor and either rebuild it or, you know, do a V8 swap in it, which you guys know me, I would love to do a V8 swap in this car. But, you know, at this point in time, we're just going to drive it and continue to enjoy it until it just dies. Okay, so over here at the workshop right now, and you will notice the 39 Chevy is behind me. I'll spin around so you guys can see that. So I talked to you guys before about this car, and it had a bit of a bouncy ride, and it was actually a little unnerving at speed. You get up there around 60 or 70 miles an hour, and there was one time I actually kind of thought that I was going to end up crashing this thing, which would not have been good. I thought maybe it needed a little stiffer shock, a little stiffer coilover in the back, which we ended up getting new coilovers. Eddie replaced those and has adjusted them. Then he noticed that the tire pressure on the rear tires was kind of low, so he adjusted that, and quite honestly the problem got worse. So Eddie's not one to really be defeated, and he's always trying to figure things out. So what he did is he jacked it up and he put it in drive and was watching the tire, and the tire is a little bit out of round, which, as you can understand, would probably make a little bit of a impact when you're driving the car. And you know, these are soft tires, they're Mickey Thompson, so they don't really like to sit. Who knows how long this car sat before I got it and before the previous owner got it. So that made it a little wallowy and kind of ride different and weird. So short story long is I ended up ordering some new rear tires, which should be in any day. Let's see, these things are, let me find the size on them. They're 31 by 18.5 by 15s. So they're not cheap tires, but I plan on keeping this car. I kind of dig it, I kind of like it. I like the look, the stance, and everything about it. So it's a fun car to own. So when I had invested in the tires, you guys know I want to make the car safe. Even if I was getting rid of it, I want to make sure the car's safe for the next owner. And I want to be able to enjoy it and drive it and take it down the freeway and go places, because it's geared to where I can take it down the freeway. So I'm going to do that. I will probably end up taking it over to Jesse's shop, Discount Tires, and I will probably end up having him just check the alignment and the rest of the suspension, just make sure everything's copacetic in there and get it all dialed in. But that's what's going on right now, waiting for tires. They should be in, I think, next week. So we'll go from there. 67 Chevelle, you guys can see rear tires are off, up on the lift, and there's a lot going on with this car right now. I mean, a lot for me. Number one thing, we'll kind of come around here, that we're doing to this car. Come around so you guys can see. I don't know if you guys can see, but the rear diff is off. Finally going to change the rear gears on this thing. It's got 373s, which normally I would think would be okay for a 4-speed manual. But this thing really does scream. I mean, 60 miles an hour is about 3 grand, really close to it. And it really does scream going down the road. The car's got a lot of torque to it, got a lot of horsepower. So I think it'll handle a taller gear. So I want to put 331s in it, see how much of a difference that makes. If I don't like it, I can always go back to the 373s. But that's the plan right now. And then Eddie's doing just a full tune-up, so we've never done that to it. Doing a little tweaking with that. Power steering has a leak. As a matter of fact, you can kind of see the leak down there. So power steering's had a leak for a long time. That needs to be addressed and fixed. Also, what's really interesting, and maybe you guys can help me out on this one. One day Eddie was looking under the hood and he realized that this car, the vacuum advance, is bypassed. It has no vacuum advance. Yet it runs amazing. I mean, you step into it, you run it through its paces, and it pulls strong all the way up to red line, which kind of seems contradictory to me. If it has no vacuum advance, it should fall on its face. Help me out here. What are your guys' thoughts on that? As always, I've talked about, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so he's going to look at it and tinker with it and see about maybe adding the vacuum advance, see if it helps it, hurts it, whatever. But long story short, the car is over here for a little while and have a few things done. It's long overdue. It's needed to have this stuff done for a while, and it's just kind of been piling up. So that's what's going on now. And then I know I have a bunch of other stuff on the whiteboard as far as lists of to-dos for other cars. But, you know, little stuff here and there, oil leaks and stuff like that, not really worth talking about. So essentially that kind of updates everything going on here in the shop. So, you know, again, I will end by just saying thank you guys so much again. From the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate the support. And yeah, I'm not leaving YouTube. I'm definitely going to still be here. I'm still going to be doing videos. Like I said, they might just be a little farther and fewer between, but I had to do this video to thank you guys and just kind of catch you up to date. So thanks for hanging in there with me. You know, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. God bless. Take care. Have an absolutely amazing day.